I'm at Kiveton Park on the Chesterfield Canal, and what I've just come to do is show you the Norwood tunnel entrance. It's a bit dicey around here and I can't get a brilliant view on it, but basically that entrance is bricked up. So this is the end of the Chesterfield Canal. Now the Norwood tunnel is quite a long tunnel. Takes you through, I think it is to Norwood. I'm going to try and get to the other end if I can. All depends on how sludgy it is over there. Now I understand they've actually done an exploration of this channel using some sort of device, and the tunnel's a lot more complete than they actually thought it would be, but it's collapsed in certain areas. And what my understanding is, they'll use this part of the tunnel through to where the old colliery was. Then when it gets into the old colliery, then create like a viaduct or embankment or whatever, and they'll run the canal on the surface. And then they've got to then somehow get under the motorway and into Rother Valley Country Park from there. So I'm going to go along at the various stages and show you where it could go, because it's all theoretical at the moment. There's a £40 million deficit on the funds to actually finish the canal. That's all it is, 40 million quid. But until they get those funds, I don't think they're going to firm up the exact work that needs to be done. So this is the first stage I'm at, Kiveton Park. Once they actually get the canal from here to Kiveton, they've then got to connect it through to Staveley, and there's absolutely none of the canal remaining at from Kiveton to Staveley. It was all built over at Kiveton, and when I've gone further through to Chesterfield on the canal between Kiveton and Staveley, it's just fields, and there's actually no markings at all for a canal at all. So I'll pick up with you at the next interesting stage. So I'm now somewhere on the fields, and somewhere under here the Norwood tunnel goes. I don't know the exact areas it's collapsed, but when you look at the amount of surface water around here and the boggy land, I'm not surprised it's collapsed. So I'm going to pop along to the woodland area on the old colliery site at Kiveton. I'm now at the roadside for Kiveton Waters. I'll just show it you around here how beautiful it is. There's some ponies up here, quite well looked after. They've all got coats on. It's a beautiful day today, but is anybody else struggling with their energy bills? Do people realise that your MPs can claim all the energy they need for free on expenses? You really ought to get a letter out to them about this. It's disgusting. You can decide how much out we get, which is very little, but at the same time they're getting their energy for free. Absolutely disgusting, but I'll get off the politics now. So I'm going to pop across to Kiveton Waters and I'll show you where the fishing ponds are. And where the fishing ponds are is going to be a marina, because I think it's already there. So I'm now in Kiveton Waters, and where you can see these fishing ponds, my understanding is this is already a marina, or will be a marina, for the canal. At this point the canal is going to come up above the ground, and it's going to go through the old colliery site in a sort of ravine, or whatever you want to call it, viaduct or a channel, and then somehow it's got to go under the motorway. But to get under the motorway it's going to have some sort of step lock system, which is all undecided. So this is actually the Kiveton water site, and I'm going to actually go around the edge of the fishing ponds where the marina's going to be. But I mean, the actual Norwood tunnel must be a mile or 2 miles underground, because I've already come third of a mile to a mile from where I showed you the actual entrance way. So I'm at where Kiveton Colliery was. It's been capped off here to allow the gases to get out. Not sure if this is the exact place where the shaft was or not, but it was a big mistake to shut the old collieries down and not actually just run them at lower capacity, because at the moment we could be burning coal cleanly until there's a proper green solution for our energy. Here I'm at what was Kiveton Park pithead baths. I'm really disappointed because at one bit they were talking about the old pithead baths being a cinema, and it's since been knocked down, which is a massive disappointment. But you can actually stop that board and actually have a look at it. But you can just see I'm still on Kiveton Waters here. I'm still walking towards the other side of the actual Norwood tunnel. And just over here is the old colliery offices, which at one bit were a school prior to them being colliery offices, I think. I'm dedicated to all the men and boys who lost their lives at Kiveton Colliery from 1866 to 1994. So a long way to go to the other end of the actual entrance, but if I find any more interesting stuff, I'll keep you posted. Right, so here's another angle on the fishing ponds where the marina's going to be for the canal. Still a long way from the other end of the actual tunnel entrance, but I'll just show you this. This is like an amphitheatre where the old concerts events outside. I've actually been here for a colliery band event in the past. I'll give you another angle on the amphitheatre from a different angle, because I don't know if the sun was actually causing problems, but you can just see how nice it is here. This is a reclaimed colliery site, and the canal tunnel's still somewhere underneath me. Just up here somewhere is the old colliery slag heap. It's been reduced in height, and I'm assuming that a lot of the coal was extracted that had been left in there, and it'll have been earthed over as well. So I'm still about a mile from the original tunnel entrance I was at, and what they're doing here is building more houses. In a few years they'll probably complain when there's problems with drainage, and that'll be the reason why, but they'll just build anywhere nowadays. It's really boggy and wet round here. I'm still on my way to the Norwood tunnel. Probably come about an hour and a half, sorry, a mile and a half now, but you can just see the countryside. Somewhere underneath me is a tunnel, and we're approaching the motorway up there, and I'm going to find an entranceway under the motorway, and the canal's going to have to come that same way as well. So just look at the grade into this land, and if I zoom in from here, somewhere back there I went on about slag heap, being the old slag heap which was just there. I've walked past there, so like I said, I've probably come about 2 miles now, and the gradient of this land, just imagine that original Norwood tunnel entrance, think about that level, and then when we get to the other end, look at the level there, and just imagine the actual tunnel has to be straight from one end to the other on the same level, can't slant. And just also think the guys had to actually push that boat through by laying on a plank, one guy at either end, and using the feet to walk along the tunnel. So just imagine how backbreaking that was. So coming to the motorway here, I think it's the M1 rather than the M18. I'm just going to find a tunnel in a minute to go under it. but the canal's got to come all the way from the Colliery site through the marina where the fishing ponds are and out to here, and it's going to be to a different level from here down to where the Norwood tunnel is. So they're going to have to put locks down here, but it can't go along the original Norwood tunnel way. It's somehow then got to get into Rother Valley Park and down the River Rother. So we're now going under the motorway. I'm now on the other side of the motorway now. Come under the tunnel and just look at the actual drop here. So the canal's somehow got to get under that motorway just there, I think, and drop down into Rother Valley Country Park. So it's going to have a flight of locks or some other method of getting the boats down here, because it's quite a steep drop even on this little bit of an area. So we're now at the Norwood end of the tunnel. I'm assuming it's called Norwood here. It's quite some trek here. Just imagine this entrance you see now is going to be exactly on the same level as that entrance I showed you at Kiveton Park. So there's massive gradients from Kiveton Park through to here, but that tunnel is actually running straight, dead straight all the way through. What an engineering feat. I think it was the longest, was it the longest tunnel? Something in England at some stage? It's got to be at least a mile and a half. I'm sure I've come about 2 miles to get here, but this is going to be a bit more straight. But like I said, they can't use this bit of canal anymore because I think it's going now through somebody's garden. Hopefully I can just show you that little bit. But the original canal went through Kilmarsh, and all the land got sold in Kilmarsh for housing. So it's got to avoid that area as well. It's somehow it's going to get into Rother Valley Country Park, go down the River Rother, and then back out the other side. Now, my understanding as well is once it goes into Rother Valley, somehow on the River Rother, they're going to connect it back through to the South Yorkshire Navigational Canal as well. Well, they're talking £40 million to complete the canal. Well, the bit from one end of Norwood Tunnel to here, that's going to cost an absolute fortune, because they were just doing the lock gates, not actually building new locks at Worksop, and it was ridiculous sums of money for that. Was it 150 grand or 100 grand just to replenish the wood on the locks and do some maintenance on the existing locks? Well, they're going to have to completely put new locks in to get down here. I reckon that 40 million quid's well under the estimate of what it's really going to cost to complete the canal. I think that was really flying a kite, to tell you the truth. Let's go and see if I can find the other bit of canal where it goes through people's gardens, because there's a bit of a footpath down there. So just in front of us there's actually the canal coming down from where I've just been at the Norwood tunnel entrance, and it's pretty in bad state here. And then when you come out of there, you've then got these like lily ponds, which is some feature for somebody's garden. And then the canal sort of runs down the side of people's gardens. So this part of the canal, it's totally impossible to reopen it. So it's anybody's guess how it's going to get from the Colliery site along to here. This would have probably been a long turning circle for the boats, because there would have been quite a delay to get the boats in and out through the Norwood tunnel. What I'd like to know is, if you've got a boat going in at one end and a boat coming out of the other, how did they actually know that there weren't two boats trying to get from one end to the other at the same time? And I've only just thought about that now. I wouldn't like to have actually walked the boat a mile through this to find out that somebody else were coming in the opposite direction. So they must have had some method of actually communicating from one end of the canal to the other. And in that day and age, they wouldn't have had even Morse. So how did they do that? So mile and a half from one end to the other, you've got two boats coming up. How did you determine which boat's got the right of way to go through the tunnel from one end to the other? Just going to see if you can see this bit, but it's sort of in somebody's garden. So they made this feature down here. It's not, the canal's not continuously running. You can see another sort of pond there, but there would have been locks along here as well. So that's a quick view of the canal from Kiveton Park to Norwood, and I'm assuming it's Norwood because that's what the tunnel were called. It sort of goes down here to where the Angel Inn is at Kilmarsh, and then it would have gone through there into the where the estates are at Kilmarsh after that. So it's just a quick tour from Kiveton to Norwood.